Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm at a data science startup in Seattle called StatSig, and we're gonna go around and all the people who are working back there, we're gonna ask them if they think AI will replace our jobs. So let's go. Hi.
Hi.
Can you share your name, role, and how long you've been working in tech?
All right. My name is YZ. I'm a data scientist at Static. I've been working at tech for 6 years.
Awesome. And what are your thoughts on the AI and the recent development in AI?
I love it. I was disappointed by old AI, and now ChatGPT comes. I just hope it can develop faster and replace most of our tedious work sooner.
Have you used ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, ChatGPT. I use it every day.
What other tools you have used?
I tried the cloud, CLAUD. Is that?
Claude?
Yeah,
Claude AI? Yeah.
cloud.
We shared a
And
video on this today.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I also tried Bard, Google's, but I haven't tried them recently. Right now, I'm just sticking with ChatGPT.
And do you have a paid version?
Yeah.
So you pay for it?
Yeah.
You have a monthly subscription?
Yes.
Okay.
Like as soon as they have the pay version, I just pay for it.
Wow, look at that. Next level. Do you think that AI will replace our jobs, specifically data scientists' jobs?
I think it will replace a lot of our tedious work. Like for example, doing EDA, cleaning data, writing code. That is like I'm replacing it every day. I ask ChatGPT to write code for me every day. But I think the thinking part, the observation part, the part that you understand users, you understand product, that cannot be replaced.
So you said that you have used it to write code? Okay, can you tell me more? Like, what prompts do you use? Do you have any tips and tricks? Like, what kind of code do you have used it to write for you?
So
Python?
Python, yeah,
Python.
the code interpreter now is I think it's called Advanced Data Analytics. And the prompt I use, ironically, when I was working at Tencent, I have interns and I manage people, and it's the prompt I use for my teammates. Like I tell. For example, someone to do certain analysis, I just say the same thing to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can do a similarly good job.
Wait. Hold on. I think you shared something awesome. So you basically said that you use it like, let's say if you have an intern and you're going to give your intern a job, you pretend that ChatGPT is your intern and you tell it the same thing. Wow. And do you like explain it? Do you say like, do you start with like, you are my intern, data analyst intern, data scientist intern, something like that, like custom prompts?
No, like I think for the normal ChatGPT, you have to. It's better to get the ChatGPT into a character. But for code interpreter, I think the code interpreter already assumed it is a code, like a data analytics, so you don't have to tell them that you are a data analytics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then have you uploaded your data for the advanced?
Yes. Yes. We are startup.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should say that again.
Yes, I mean, before that, I actually read ChatGPT's data usage agreement, and I know how they use the data. I'm not actually worried.
I'm glad you shared the data. You're able to share your data, but for anybody else who's watching, like make sure like you follow your company policy before uploading any data. It seems like
Yeah.
your company is cool with it, so that's great because now you can be like super productive with it. Okay, so for anybody who wants to become a data scientist and now with all the AI changes and everything, like people are scared. Like some people think that it's not a good time to get into data science because it's going to be automated. Like, what are your thoughts for those people? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, actually, I have sorry, I have my own personal channel. It's a pragmatic data scientist. I tell this since the beginning. Like I tell everyone, like data science is not a tool. We learn the tools to help build better business, to do better service to people, to build great products. Great products matter, great services matter, but how you get there doesn't matter. Similar to computer science, like if you write code, code is not the destination. Building better products is the destination. So I think ChatGPT can help us be better at our tool, at using the tool, but to remember the destination is better products and better service and serving people.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What's your name, role, and how long have you been in tech?
So my name is Pablo. I work on the data infrastructure here at Statsig, and I've been in tech for about 5 years.
Amazing. What are your thoughts on AI and the recent development that there has been?
I think it's been pretty transformative. With ChatGPT and all these large language models, I have incorporated it into my workflow a lot. I think at this point it's about 50-50 between like Google searches and like ChatGPT queries. A lot of times just like posting a bunch of like code and being like, where's the bug? Or posting an error and being like, what does this mean? Or even just like collaboratively, like I was learning Rust the other day and just being like, I have a C++ background, this is Rust code, explain the things that would be confusing to me, and it can just kind of point out like, oh, this is different from C++, this is how it works here.
That's amazing that you have been using it for basically debugging and then like translating between the languages. I think like that's where it becomes super, super powerful, especially if you don't know the language and you're trying to like learn it. And so that's awesome. How has your experience been working with like ChatGPT versus other tools? Like, do you have a favorite, and why do you prefer one versus the other?
I've tried out ChatGPT, or I've tried out Bard, and I've tried out Claude. I think ChatGPT is the most reliable in terms of getting correct and useful information. I've used Claude a few times because it has a really long context length. So if I have like a giant file that I want like some information on, you could just paste like thousands of lines of code and it kind of processes them all. And then Bard is kind of nice because it does a good job at like recent stuff, but it's not going to be as like technically competent as the other two in my experience.
So with all that you are able to do with generative AI tools, like what do you think is the future of generative AI? Do you think it will replace our jobs, your job in general?
I think that software is going to become more like an orchestrator of like code. So you're going to be being like, I need this type of thing, and then it's going to give you like a first draft, and then you're going to kind of look through it and be like, oh no, like tweak these things. But I do think like the amount of code that people write is going to drastically decrease, but the amount of output people have is going to drastically increase.
That's awesome. So basically, you're saying that it will increase your productivity, and then the nuance work or like the basic work that maybe an entry level can do
Exactly. Yeah.
will not be as relevant in the future.
Yeah, some tasks that would take like, an hour before can now be done in 5 minutes. And, like you currently have to be careful because like there is a lot of times where it will make mistakes. But as the technology evolves, I can see a point where like you're kind of just trusting it almost like you would trust a junior engineer.
That's awesome. A junior engineer, he said it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
What's your name, role, and how long have you been in tech?
My name is AJ, so I'm a data engineer here. How long been in tech? I think almost 7 years since I graduated. I've been working at like Tinder, Chime, and Assassin is my third company so far.
That's awesome. And have you always been a data engineer?
Initially, when I joined, I have been playing with like backend stuff as well. But later on, I found kind of data is where my enthusiasm at. So I kind of focus more on the big data space afterwards.
That's awesome. So you're self-taught.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some-
Yeah,
I-
you had
I
to think for a minute.
I learned a lot like about like Apache Spark and some of those big data stuff
Okay.
when I was doing my internship.
Okay.
And so that's kind of getting myself a little bit onboarding to this area.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of
And have you used ChatGPT or any of the other generative AI tools? What are your thoughts on the recent development?
yeah. I have been using GPT a lot. I think almost every day. A lot of work that I'm not super familiar with before. It can be something that maybe other people knows, but I'm not that familiar with. Like I can give you an example, like regular expression, which is you want to extract some of the static pattern from a large context. It may take me a lot of time to do some Google search about how to bypass some of those symbols or whatever. But for ChatGPT, I can just copy paste. Oh, give me. I want to extract this pattern from this block of text, so it will be right away, and usually that works very well. So something like that, I think some kinds of small stuff that I'm not really familiar with, I can just give to ChatGPT.
So basically, you're saying that you've been using it instead of Stack Overflow.
I think I would say both.
Okay, so that's where like the generative AI tools are today, and they continue to evolve and continue to like do different things that we didn't think were possible. And now we're like analyze our data. So with the evolvement that has been happening in generative AI, do you think it will replace our job, your job specifically?
I think a lot of things can be replaced, and I think once generative AI get more powerful, I can see things happen that a lot of like tedious work or repetitive works can be fully replaced by AI. And like if you want to write in some of the framework or like some simple stuff, and they can all handle those very well, much better than software engineer, and they don't make any human error. But for other stuff like it's more related to your experience. Like you need to have some bigger thinking, make some bigger decision, design choice. I think those things, I think engineers with, after they get years of experience in different industry, they will still probably perform, like make slightly better, or like make something that makes more sense, or more adapt to their business. So I think those kind of things, I think, won't be replaced. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What's your name, role, and how long have you been working in tech?
Vijay Raji, founder and CEO of Statsig. I've been in the tech industry for about 25 years.
25 years. Wow. So can I say that you're the boss?
I don't like the word the boss, but I'm also the janitor. I'm also the furniture builder. I'm also the IT specialist here in this company. So I do everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Because I know when we met, I heard the word dev engineer. Like, how do you want to be introduced? Do you want to be introduced as a dev, or do you want to be introduced as a CEO? So that's really cool.
CEO is fine. CEO is a good title. Manager is a good way to phrase what I do on a day-to-day basis. I just don't like the word boss.
Okay.
I don't know.
No,
just
I
read
love it.
Differently.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's great, and I'm sure like everybody here agrees that as well. Have you been? I'm sure you have been. Have you been on top of all the AI development and all the news, all the hype? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I think I've been trying to keep up. There's a lot of advancement in AI just recently, especially with all the advancements in AGI, specifically the GPT side. It's fascinating. Consequences of some of the things that we're talking about today are profound, and I think we're at a very unique inflection point. This could turn out into something as big of a platform shift like you can see like back in the day desktops, and then now mobile, and then eventually I think AI could be that paradigm shift that we're looking at. So it's yet to be seen, but I'm pretty optimistic.
Do you use any of the generative AI tools in your day-to-day work as a CEO?
Yeah, no, I use them a lot. I use them for a lot of purposes, to write down content, to even reframe my thoughts, and sometimes ask questions, if my assumptions are right. I use ChatGPT, I use the app quite a bit. And then I think about it from the point of view of what our company strategy is, both in terms of using AI and then helping AI. And so in a lot of ways, a lot of AI companies are customers of ours. So I look at it from different angles.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So I have talked to a few people from your company, and it seems like you are very open, and the whole culture is super flexible in terms of using generative AI tools. A lot of companies are not. So a lot of companies do not allow their employees to use ChatGPT or any of the generative AI tools. So I want to ask you, since you you have a lot of people who are using these tools, have you seen a productivity shift in those people who are using it?
Yeah, I don't think we've measured. I haven't even thought about why somebody should not use AI. AI feels like a tool that you should, if you have that tool, why not use it? If it's productive, if it's positive for your day-to-day, why not use it? All of our engineers use Co-Pilot. That's something that we just give, and so that we for all engineers to use Co-Pilot. That is AI, and that actually meaningfully improves productivity. I use Co-Pilot as well, and so I've seen dramatic improvement in some of the things that I used to go look up is now available in place, which is great. And then there are some people that are building very specific content that where there's a direct help that you can get from ChatGPT. Why not?
Yeah.
So my position is always why not?
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
I think there should be openness and willingness to try new technologies, and if it improves your everyday productivity, then why not?
Yeah,
So
why not?
there's more upside than downside. So for people who are watching right now, a lot of the people that is my audience is new to the industry, or they're just starting out, or they're students, and they are scared of AI. A lot of the people want to get into data science. They want to become data analysts. They want to become software engineer. But with all the evolvement in technology, especially with generative AI and being able to write code, some of the people that I talked to, they were saying they use it for debugging and writing basic code snippets and everything. Should they be scared? Do you think AI will replace future tech jobs?
I don't think being scared is the right motion. I find this is a new tool that you're gonna evolve with, and you're gonna figure out different ways of using it. and it will eventually open up new opportunities, businesses. So think about it like this, right? So take banking. Banking is still around. Banking has been around for several hundred years, and it's gone through many evolutions. It went from physical banking to online banking to mobile banking, and now you have banks that don't even have a physical location, and that's totally fine. We've gotten used to that concept. If you asked early days, you go to a banker, are you worried about online bank taking away your jobs? I think that's the wrong phrasing of the question. I think it opens up new opportunities. It opens up new paradigms, and I think AI is similar to that. Our jobs may evolve, our jobs may change, but I don't think we should be worried about it. I don't think we should fear it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really glad that you used the analogy of the banking system. So well, that's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. What's your name, role, and how long you've been working in tech?
Yeah, so Margaret Ann, I lead the product team here, and I've been in tech for about 10 years now.
That's awesome. Have you been following the news and the recent development in ChatGPT and generative AI in general? What are your thoughts?
Yes, it's hard not to hear that news. Obviously, it's super exciting. I think it poses general questions about how life will evolve outside of work, but also how our jobs will evolve, and how what the teams and I do day to day is going to change with this technology. And I think the third layer to that is actually how we as a business, because we're in the business of data and experimentation, how we can kind of harness AI to unlock new use cases for our customers. So I see it as life, job, and then StatSig. How does this kind of change what we do?
That's awesome. So how have you been using it, given that you are in product team or your people who are working in the product in your team? Like, how are they using it? Like, what's your everyday use case?
Yeah, so a lot of the uses that I have for it are around content and kind of helping reframe our product with a bit of a clearer third-party lens. I think as a PM, you're so in the details of what your product does day to day that it's hard for you to kind of put yourself in a new user's shoes and zoom out and be like, how would I describe StatSig to someone who's completely new to the product? And so what we'll often do is I'll collaborate with marketing or design, and we'll kind of be framing a marketing page or framing up a overview of the product, and I'll take what we've generated and I'll kind of input it into ChatGPT and see how it would reframe it to be a bit more general for a broader audience. And I found that really helps kind of abstract away some of the nuances and make it just more digestible for a broader audience.
Okay. Do you ever get worried that it's your work that you're putting into ChatGPT, now it becomes part of the training model? Like, do you think like you're giving your ideas away for free for ChatGPT to use and share it with other people?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a risk. They do have the new enterprise model, which I assume is kind of you purchase the ability to run GPT's models on your specific enterprise's data, and that stays within your walled garden of your enterprise. And I think that's like a very clear value prop. I think other startups like Glean and stuff have tried to do something similar, and I think it's a great idea because I think most companies, the idea of inputting your proprietary information into a system that's shared across companies is super scary. Yeah. So I think ChatGPT, enterprise or Glean or whatever it ends up being, that's probably the right model, and sharing info across companies is not ideal.
No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. My last question, and it's the most controversial one. Do you think AI will replace PM jobs?
Yeah. So
yeah, as in like...
Well, hold on. That was a yes and. No, I mean, I think, so I saw this post on LinkedIn the other day that kind of blew my mind, and I think it was Jason Kalanikis bringing up an experiment that Aaron Levy of Box had run, where he had uploaded one of his company's kind of core landing pages to ChatGPT and asked, how would I optimize this? So essentially what a PM does, right, is look at an opportunity space and say, okay, where can we kind of change the product or adapt the product to increase a metric or make this better for users? And he kind of just dumped it into GPT and said, go. And the output was astonishingly good. No surprise, but it was like 9 different things that would optimize kind of click conversion and help make it clear what you're supposed to do on this page. And so I think that, you could either view that as really scary, like, oh no, that's what PMs do today, and if you can just funnel it into GPT, that's my job. Or you can see that as like, okay, this is a really cool opportunity. It can help supercharge me, like accelerate what I would have had to go and spend hours and hours figuring out, and then I can just go execute on that, right? Because at the end of the day, PMs still have to do a lot of the execution, like collaborating across teams, like working with different stakeholders, getting buy-in. Like ChatGPT can't go to your executive team and say, hey, Are you guys bought in on these things? Are you guys, eng resources, data resources? Is everyone aligned in actually building this? Like, there's a lot of the glue work that I think requires a human perspective. And so the faster you can get there and like start building, the better. And I see GPT as just an accelerant there.
That's awesome. Brilliant answer. One last question. What advice do you have for people who are, let's say, in school and they want to pursue product management? Like, what should they think about? What should they do differently in their education or learning agenda that they have?
Think deeply about the products you use day to day. I think a lot of people don't, they kind of take it for granted. They don't think about why something is so good. But the sooner you can kind of get to the core kernel of why something is awesome, the faster you can pattern match that and start to learn how to replicate that. And what really great product managers do is they have what we call product sense, which is this vague, like, you can build good products, you know a good product when you see it. And I think the PMs that I know that have the best product sense are the deepest thinkers about product. So I would say think deeply, recognize those trends, and think about what makes a product great day to day. Second thing I'd say is actually invest in relationships. Because I think a big part, like I mentioned earlier, PMing is glue. You're the glue. You're helping connect the dots to make things happen. And to do that, you need relationships. And so whether those relationships are with your college professors or your friends or whatever, like, the people that tend to do well in product are the people that are really good at investing in relationships. So that's a skill you can practice anywhere in any context. So I'd say just double down on relationships and it'll take you far.
Awesome. That was great advice. Follow all of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What's your name, your role, and how long have you been working in tech?
My name is Audrey, and I'm a brand designer here at Statsig, and I've been working in tech for about 4 years, so I'm newer than most people so far. Yeah.
Awesome. And what do you think about generative AI and all the recent development in the AI space?
Yeah, I think you would probably assume that I would have a negative feeling towards it because I'm a brand designer, and designers typically are like a little bit more hesitant about these types of things, but I'm actually pretty optimistic about it. I do use AI in some of my work, not necessarily here at Statsig, but like in my personal work as well. And I think there's a lot of things to it that could really aid the way that I work day to day. So yeah, I have an optimistic view about it.
Are there like specific tools, like the AI tools that are designed for like brand designers or UX designers that you have used? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I use ChatGPT, obviously, like a lot of people do, mostly for like ideation phase stuff. So if I'm having a hard time coming up with concepts or ideas for things, I'll typically go in and give it a prompt, and then I'll get something out of it that will give me an approach to a story that I like, so that I can start building out a framework from there. I also have used a couple of different AIs where they adopt your personal style. So I wouldn't necessarily like the idea of people taking other people's styles, but if it uses my personal style that I've established over the years, and then I prompt it to create something for me, I use that every now and then as well. Yeah, so like I think Adobe has a beta version of that right now. So.
And what is it called?
I can't remember what it's called exactly, but
Okay.
I know you can implement it into Illustrator. Photoshop has a couple of AI tools as well. So yeah.
So what are your thoughts in terms of like the future development 5 to 10 years from now? Do you think that AI, specifically when it comes to like brand designer or UX designer, like do you think these people should be worried? Will these AI advancement replace some of these jobs, especially at the entry level?
Yeah, I think I don't know if you should be worried necessarily, but I would view it more of like an evolution of how we work today. If you're expecting to be working exactly the way that I work today in the next 10 years, I think that might be not necessarily unrealistic, but it's probably not how it's going to be for the next 10 years. Even design in the last 15, 20 years has evolved a lot. People used to work with just paper and they would print everything and then they'd like scan it in. So you should be comfortable with change if you're going to be a designer. You should be comfortable with learning new products and new tools. So AI, I think, will evolve the way that we work, but I don't think it will necessarily eliminate designers. It will just eliminate a certain element of the process or the beginning of the process that we use.
Awesome. Do you have any advice for anybody who wants to get to UX design, brand design? Like what advice would you have, especially in the world of AI?
Yeah. UX and brand are pretty different, so I would figure out first what you wanted to go into. So if you're wanting to focus more on UX, UI type of stuff, I would find people that are in that field and I would ask them for mentorship, figure out what they did, how they followed their path and their journey. Brand, I would focus also on the same thing, but just finding people in that field. And yeah, I mean, connections are everything, of course. And then I would also focus a lot on craft and honing your specific skill and knowing how to vouch for yourself in that skill set as well.
That's awesome. I think you have said it a few times, like figure out what your style is. And I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to grow in your own style rather than if you're copying somebody else or using AI tools, which can give you like very generic view style. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
What's your name, role, and how long you've been working in tech?
My name is Sid. I'm a product marketing manager, and I've been working for more than 5 years in tech.
That's awesome. Have you been following the recent news and the AI development, specifically related to generative AI? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think I'm super fascinated and mind blown as I was like when it came out last year. I was actually doing my MBA at USC when this came out, and there was a lot of talk and chatter within the university about like, should students be allowed to use it, and like what does this now mean for assignments? And I noticed that a lot of the professors took the stance of, oh, ChatGPT can't do as good a job writing some of these more qualitative, strategic papers that we would do in the MBA. But I actually found that it writes much better papers than most students can. So I was really fascinated that it can do a lot more than just, quantitative, analytical things, but it actually provides a lot more depth to what we would normally consider human tasks. So it's able to like analyze things in a very with a lot of like sense of like humaneness and like a people centric view.
So how have you been using generative AI specifically in marketing in your day-to-day job?
Yeah, so I think the obvious case is like using it for things like editing your copy or like coming up with a first draft. But I actually find its best case use cases come from when I ask it things like, hey, what would be things that a machine learning engineer would be interested in knowing? And that also informs the kind of strategy for the content that we develop. So, or if I write something out, I can ask it, say I was writing this to a sophisticated data scientist or to a sophisticated product manager, what would be things that they would be interested in learning? And so it really goes way beyond just like, oh, coming up with like a rough draft or, polishing content.
Right. So basically you use it for like idea generation, but you customize it based on your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also really helps me to understand complex technical concepts because, at StatSig and generally if you're in product marketing in tech, you're speaking to a very technical audience. And so sometimes you might need to learn as a marketer what some concepts are. Right. So I could ask ChatGPT questions like, explain sample ratio mismatch as you would to a 10-year-old. Yeah. And then it gives like a very simple example with like marbles or something. And then I go, oh, that's what it is. And then I can contextualize that to the work that I do. So it's super helpful. Else I would have had to go and like spend a lot of time with someone technical at the company, and then that would just cause delays, bottlenecks. Right. But I can just quickly get this answer, and I think that's where I could unlock a lot of value.
No, that's so smart. So basically, you in the previous world, you would have spent like 30 minutes to 1 hour. And actually, it's more than that because you need to figure out their schedule. You need to figure out the time and coordinate it. And now you can just go to ChatGPT and spend like 5 minutes and ask it to explain what a data scientist would want to know or what a data engineer would want to know. Like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Hey, take note.
Yeah.
So in terms of the marketing space specifically, since a lot of the work is like writing content, copywriting, and a lot of that stuff, that can easily be done. ChatGPT can write things like in split seconds. And any of the other generative AI tools. What are your thoughts on the future of marketing space, copyright space, especially not today, but like 5 to 10 years from now as these tools continue to become better and better?
I do rely on ChatGPT a lot, and it seems like a lot of what I can do, it can do better. But I think it's about how you can embrace the technology. I think it's really important to reinvent yourself in your role and figure out how you can be better using ChatGPT and generative AI. I don't think it's any different from, say, salespeople, say 20 years ago would do more like door-to-door things, but with like ad tech and with a lot of advancements in that space. If they embrace the technologies, they can still do great things without like losing their job or anything. So I think it's the same thing 5-10 years from now. I think I can still be relevant if I'm using the technology to keep gaining a competitive edge.
Thank you for sharing that. So I think one thing I do want to talk about, like you said, like you're able to do your job way faster. So now let's say for like a company that was going to hire 2 marketing people, if you're able to like do now that two persons work in very fast because you're more productive, do you think there are going to be less jobs in marketing space in the future? Or if you see them evolving, like how would they evolve?
Yeah, I think there will be new jobs. I don't think there will be less jobs. I think we're going through a transitionary phase now where we're figuring out what those new jobs will be. But I think, 20 years ago, I don't think there was too many jobs in like a machine learning engineer, for example, and like those exist now. So I think in the same way, it's an exciting time to be in marketing because we need to see how we engage with this technology and what new roles come out of it. So in the interim, I think, yeah, there might be a fewer jobs in the short term, but I'm pretty optimistic about the mid to long term impact.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you found this video valuable. I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.